Today, we're going to learn how to write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form when we're given the slope and a point, and when we're given 2 points. Slope-intercept form means that we have an equation that looks like this: y equals mx plus b, where we have a number in for m and a number in place of b. M stands for the slope, and b stands for the y-intercept. So let's look at our first example. Write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form with a slope of -3 going through the point -2, +2. In our equation, we're going to have a y and an x, and we have to find the slope, the letter m, and the y-intercept, the letter b. So the first step is to find the slope. Well, it tells us in the problem that the slope is -3. So we're going to use that as our m number in our equation. Now, to find the y-intercept, we're going to use this point, -2, +2, because it doesn't directly tell us that that is the y-intercept, because it's not. But we can use those numbers in a side equation. -2 is the x number, +2 is the y number, and the m number is -3. So we're going to come over here to the side and write the same equation, y equals mx plus b, and plug in those three numbers for y, m, and x. So we're going to substitute the number 2 for y, the number -3 for m, and the number -2 for x. That leaves us with the letter b, and we're going to isolate it, and that will tell us what value b is. So the first step we need to do on this equation is to multiply -3 and -2. 3 times 2 is 6, and when you multiply two negatives, that makes a positive. So now we have the equation 2 equals 6 plus b. Well, we still need to get b by itself, so we need to move the 6. It's a +6 on the right side of the equation, so if we move it to the left side of the equation, it will become -6. This is just a shortcut version of solving equations. So now we have 2 minus 6. That's 6 negatives and 2 positives. That gives us -4. And all we're left on the right side is b. And so that is our y-intercept. So we can use -4 in place of b. That changes the plus sign to a minus. And that is our equation. Y equals -3x minus 4. Let's go down to another example. Write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form with a slope of 1/3 going through the point -6, 2. Once again, we're going to start with our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and we are looking for the letter m and the letter b. Let's start with the letter m, the slope. In the problem, it says the slope is 1/3. We're going to write that as the fraction y equals 1/3. X. Remember, y and x are going to stay in our equation. Now we have to figure out what the y-intercept is. Well, this point, -6, +2, is not the y-intercept, but we can use it in a side equation, and that's what we're doing over here with our steps in step number 2. We're going to use 1 point for the xy values. That's going to be -6 and 2. And we're going to use this slope, which is 1/3. And we're going to put these numbers into that side equation, y equals mx plus b. So our y number is 2. Our m number is 1/3, 1/3. And our x number is -6 plus b. And b is what we're trying to isolate. So let's start with the 1/3 times -6. We know our answer is going to be negative because it's a positive times a negative. But how do we solve this part? We can cancel out like they are fractions. The -6 is like -6/1. 6 divided by 3 is 2, so that leaves us -2. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now we've got 1/1 times -2. All we're having to do here is multiply the numerators, -1 and +1 and -2, and that gives us -2. So now we have this, 2 equals -2 plus b. Just like we did on the last problem, we're going to move this minus 2 over here to the left side of the equation and change its sign to positive. So this will be 2 plus 2. That'll leave b all by itself. Well, 2 plus 2 is 4, and so our y-intercept is 4. So we're going to move it to our final equation over here, and that is the answer. Y equals 1/3 x plus 4. And when you type this into Google Forms, you can type 1/3. All right, let's look at two more examples that are a little more difficult. The first one is, write an equation of a line in slope-intercept form going through the points 2, 1, and -1, -5. As always, start with your y-intercept form, and we are looking for the slope and the y-intercept to put in its place. We leave y and x. This time, we're not given the slope, so we're going to have to figure it out. And this is how I like to figure out the slope. And this is on step number 1 here, over here on the left. The first part is to stack the points, and I mean write them on top of each other. You don't need to use the comma here. We're just making ourselves a special type of equation. Make sure you write the signs correctly. All right, the second part is to change the bottom signs. Since they're both negative, we're going to make them positive. If they were positive, we would make them negative. Now we're going to combine the y numbers, just like we're adding straight down. 1 plus 5 is 6. Then we're going to add the x numbers. 2 plus 1 is 3. But that should go on the bottom of our slope fraction. Now we're going to simplify the fraction if we can. We sure can. 6 divided by 3 equals 2. So we can make that the whole number, 2. So that is our slope. So we can put it over here in place of m. Now we need to figure out the y-intercept, and neither of these points is the y-intercept. It would be if x equals 0, but neither of them do. So remember what we did in the other problems. We need to use a point for our x number and our y number. Now in this case, it doesn't matter which point you use, but you have to use the same point for x and y. You can't swap them up. So either point is fine. 2 and 1 up here looks like our easiest version that we're going to use, so we're going to use that for our x and y number. So in place of y, we put the number 1. In place of m, we just figured that out. The slope is 2. And in place of x, we also have the number 2. And we're going to solve for the letter b. 2 times 2 is 4. So that leaves us 1 equals 4 plus b. Let's do our trick. Since we have a plus 4 on the right, when you move it to the left, it becomes a minus 4. So in this case, we have positive 1, negative 4. That means we have 3 more negatives, so that means it's minus 3, which equals b. And that is our y-intercept, so we write that beside our 2x as y equals 2x minus 3. Okay, it's time for our last example. Now here we're just given the points, but I want to show you what it would look like on Google Forms. They want us to write the equation of the line shown in the graph below in slope-intercept form. So you can see here the graph given to us, and it tells us there's a point at 1, 2, and a point at 6, 0. Remember what we're trying to find in this equation, y equals mx plus b, are two things. We need to figure out the slope, which is m, and the y-intercept for the letter b. To do slope, we could do our little trick with stacking the points on top of each other, but an easier way would be to just look at the graph. Remember, slope is rise over run. Since this is going down, we're going to make it negative. It goes down 2 squares, and it goes to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. That is negative 2 over 5. So in our equation, y equals negative 2 over 5x. And now we get to figure out what the y-intercept is. Well, there's this little problem. The y-intercept on this picture is between 2 and 3. It looks almost halfway, but it's not quite there. And that's because it's a fraction in between 2 and 3. So we're going to have to use our points to figure this out. So we're going to come and make a side equation like we've been doing. And we can use either of these 2 points. Let's choose 6, 0 for our x and our y numbers. So we're going to use the number 0 for y. Our slope is negative 2 over 5. Our x number is 6. And we're looking for the letter b. Well, this fraction multiplication doesn't work out as nice and neat as the other ones, but we can figure it out easily. We cannot cancel 6 and 5 because the only thing you can divide them by is 1. So we're just going to simply multiply our whole number 6 times our numerator, the top number 2. What that will give us is negative 12 over 5. In some cases, you may want to simplify this. It ends up being 2 2/5, or on a calculator, if you do 12 divided by 5, it'll show up as 2.4. But we can leave this as an improper fraction. There's one more thing to do. Since this is a negative 12/5 on the right side, we're going to bring it over to the left side and change it to positive 12/5. Now, obviously, 0 plus 12 over 5 will equal 12 over 5. And that is our y-intercept, and so we write it over here just like that. Sometimes we have fractions for our numbers, and that is perfectly okay. So if you have any questions, make sure you email me, and remember, take your time and do your best. Thank you very much, and have a great day.